numerous amounts of essential micro elements or the macro elements are dissolved in it. So it is called as a solute. So ammonification is nothing but the decomposition of nitrogen, that is organic nitrogen, which is got by the dead plants and animals into ammonia. So which is the organism that actually helps in this particular conversion process wherein nitrogen is converted to nitrate. Hello everyone, a warm welcome to another session of chapter 12, that is mineral nutrition. I am Dr. Divya, biology faculty, Vidhyaashram Pre-University College, Mysuru, Temple of Excellence. So in the previous session of this chapter, we had discussed about critical concentration, that is exactly how much amount of mineral has to be added to the plant. And also we learnt about the toxicity of the micronutrients, and also we learnt about the process of absorption of minerals by the plant by the symplast pathway and the apoplast pathway. In today's session, we shall discuss about the nitrogen cycle in detail. So to begin with, we shall first start with what is translocation of solutes. So translocation means the movement of a substance from one region to another. So here the substances, whatever are there, for example in this particular case, I am talking about the mineral nutrients that are there in the soil or that are added to the soil. So those mineral nutrients from the soil should get translocated into the roots, or in other words, it has to be absorbed by the roots. So once it gets absorbed by the roots, so mineral nutrients in the dry form, they don't get absorbed, right? So they get absorbed in the solute form wherein the minerals are dissolved in the water that is present in the roots. So then they enter into the xylem. Through the xylem, by a process called as ascent of sap, that is the movement of the mineral nutrients from the root to the upward parts of the plant take place by a transpiration pull, right? As and when the water is lost from the plants will need to derive water from the bottom. And this is how, by deriving water from the bottom, the different mineral nutrients along with the water, they travel to different parts of the plant body. So that is nothing but translocation of the solutes. We had learnt about this in the transport system in plants, right? Or transportation in plants, we had learnt what solute is. So for example, I take a beaker of water and dissolve sugar in it. Now that water is called as a solution. If nothing is dissolved in it, then the water is pure water, right? And the water potential of pure water is 0, whereas that of solution is negative. We have studied about that in the previous chapter, that is transportation in plants. Numerous amounts of essential micro elements or the macro elements are dissolved in it. So it is called as a solute. So mineral salts, which is nothing but the solute, they are translocated through xylem along with the ascending stream of water. That is called as the ascent of sap. That is upward movement of water. So as and when the upward movement of water is occurring in the plant, because of transpirational pull, so in the water is being dissolved, minerals are dissolved, right? So these mineral ions will also be taken by the roots of the plants and it will start to move to different parts of the plant body. To prove that actually these mineral ions also travel through the xylem, scientists, they analyzed the xylem sap and they found out that in the xylem sap along with the water, the minerals also were dissolved in it. That is, various mineral salts were also dissolved. Understood by us that along with the transport of water, the solute also gets transferred to different parts of the plant body through the xylem, and the solute is nothing but the mineral salts that are dissolved in the water. One more experiment they had conducted wherein they used the radioisotopes of mineral elements to understand, that is, how the transportation occurs through xylem. So they went in for radioisotoping. So radioisotopes and all will give a color, so fluorescence. So when the path of the movement of the mineral ions get fluoresced, emits a color or a radiation, we will understand exactly to which tissue the mineral ions are traveling. So we understood by these experiments, scientists, especially the radioisotope method, scientists were able to say that not just water gets transported or translocated through the xylem, but also the mineral elements that are there in the soil gets absorbed by the root and translocated to different parts of the plant body through the xylem. So There is a picture which can make you understand even more clear. So the absorption by root cells. So there is water present. So along with water, what is dissolved in the water? Whatever fertilizers or the nutrients that we add to the soil, right? Such as the potassium ions, the sodium ions, the chlorine ions, all these that are, and various other fertilizers or mineral elements or essential elements that we add to the soil, all of those gets dissolved in water. So when the water is pulled, why is the water pulled? Because the plant is losing water by transpiration. Through transpiration, the plant is losing water from its leaf. Through transpiration, as you can see here, when water is being lost through the leaves, there is a gap between the plant to that of the external atmosphere. So now that water gap has to be filled. So if the water gap occurs, a pressure gets created. So that pressure, which is called as the transpiration pull, will actually derive the water. So as and when the solutes move, they will move to different parts of the plant body. That is, they are getting translocated from the soil into the root, from the root to different parts of the plant body. So that is how the translocation will occur. So translocation of solute is nothing but the movement of the mineral ions to different parts of the plant body because of a transpirational pull. So next, talking about, because we have understood about how plants absorb minerals. In the previous session, we had discussed about the symplast and the apoplast pathway. So now it will be even more clear to you. So we'll study about what are the different mineral elements that are there in the soil. Why exactly is soil a reservoir of different mineral elements? So it is not always necessary for us to fertilize the soil, right? Only if it is a macronutrient, because macronutrients are required by the plants in larger quantities, we have to add the or supply the particular macronutrients to the plant. But otherwise, if the critical concentration is available to the plant, then there is no need of fertilizing the soil again. So how are these minerals, in spite of us not putting fertilizer to the soil, made available to the plants? Because we know that how is soil formed? Soil is usually formed by the weathering of rocks, right? And the rocks contain a lot of depositions which are brought about by the rivers, lakes and all that over a period of time. That is, over a long period of time, they get deposited in the rocks. Now the rocks are abundant with minerals and nutrients, and when the weathering of rocks occurs, the rock particles get converted into the soil. Now the soil is containing all sorts of mineral elements that are needed for the growth of the plant. So majority of the nutrients that are essential for the growth and development of the plants become available to the roots due to weathering and breaking down of the rocks. And these process, that is the weathering and breaking down of the rocks, is one of the important factors or process that actually enrich the soil with lots of dissolved ions, mineral ions as well as inorganic salts. And since they are derived from the rock minerals, their role in plant nutrition is referred to as mineral nutrition. So why is soil a reservoir of mineral nutrients? Or why are there abundant amount of mineral nutrients in the soil? It is because of the weathering and the breaking down process of the rock over a period of time, therefore adding on to the nutrient content of the soil. So this particular nutrition that is got by the weathering process of the rock and therefore leading to the enrichment of the mineral ions and the nutrients in the soil is called as mineral nutrition, and this mineral nutrition is the one that is made available to the plant. So this was about the soil as a reservoir. So not just that, soil not alone supplies minerals, but also in the soil there is presence of a large number of beneficial microorganisms, right? Thousands together of organisms which might be pathogenic and some of them which might be beneficial to the plants. And one such beneficial microorganism is the nitrogen fixing bacteria. So apart from that, apart from having the nitrogen fixing bacteria, they also have some of the other microbes. The best example I had mentioned in my previous sessions, that is Pseudomonas. So Pseudomonas doesn't help in nitrogen fixing, but they are also beneficial to the plants because they help the plants to take up phosphorus properly from the soil. So that is why it is important. So other microbes are also there in the soil other than mineral ions. What else are there in the soil? There is now the nitrogen fixing bacteria such as the rhizobium, the azotobacter, etc. And also there are other microbes, beneficial microbes that are there, be it the Pseudomonas, the Trichoderma, all those beneficial microbes. Soil has the capability to hold water because it has to hold water, right? Why? Because mineral ions get dissolved in the water and that solute is the one that is taken by the plants. But if the water seeps off directly to the below ground where the roots are not able to reach, then it will not be beneficial to the plant, right? So therefore, soil has the capacity to hold water and also soil supplies air to the roots. So from where the roots derive, so upper parts of the plant will derive air from the atmospheric air through the stomata. But what about the roots? From where do they derive air? So those soil which are not very tightly packed, they contain air spaces, and those air spaces filled with air will supply air to the root. So therefore, they supply air to the root and also they act as a matrix that stabilizes the plant. So they act as a matrix that stabilize the plant because stability of the plant depends on the soil, right? Minerals or nutrients we add to the soil, based on that the growth of the plant will depend on. These are the other different functions that a soil can render apart from just having mineral nutrients in it. And since deficiency of essential elements affects the crop yield, there is often a need for the farmers to supply them through fertilizers. I told you. So every time soil cannot provide the mineral nutrients because, say for example, there is a new land which you have taken, not even once it has been cultivated, so therefore it will be rich in nutrients. But say for example, throughout the year for many years you cultivate crops on that, the nutrition will come down. So how can a farmer replenish the field? He can add fertilizers that are got from the market. So these fertilizers are nothing but made up of the macro and the micronutrients. So he can add both the macronutrients such as the nitrogen, the phosphorus, the potassium, sulfur, etc. And also he can add micronutrients in the form of fertilizers such as copper, zinc, iron, manganese, etc. And these fertilizers can be applied at the time when the plant needs it or when the soil is not having enough of the nutrients. How will we know the soil is not having enough of the nutrients? First of all, deficiency symptoms can be seen in the plants. Other thing is by soil analysis, various experiments that are there that will be conducted by the concerned person who's dealing with the field soil. He will analyze the soil and let us know what deficiency is there in the soil. Therefore, based on that, the soil can be replenished, and if we replenish the soil, we get good yield as well because of proper growth of the plant. So all this can be done. So that is why deficiency can always be reversed. So if you find a plant is deficient, at the same time, very soon, if you provide enough nutrients to the plant will just grow back healthy. So that is how it can be replenished again. So this was about soil as a reservoir of essential elements. So we understood that in the soil there is nitrogen fixing bacteria present. So how do these? So we add nitrogen to the soil, right? That is, nitrogen is one of the important essential nutrient that is required for almost all the metabolic activities to take place in the soil. So when we add nitrogen to the soil, or from the nitrogen that is there in the atmosphere as such, or nitrogen that is given out by the industrial pollutants, all that cannot be used by the plants directly. So how can the plants make use of this nitrogen? It is by converting the nitrogen to ammonia, then to nitrite, and then to nitrate. So by doing this, they absorb the nitrogen. So because they cannot directly absorb. So which is the organism that actually helps in this particular conversion process wherein nitrogen is converted to nitrate? So it is done by the nitrogen fixing bacteria. So we shall study about the metabolism of nitrogen, how exactly nitrogen fixation occurs in the plant. So apart from carbon, hydrogen and oxygen, nitrogen is also present in living organisms, right? So be it the dead and decaying organic matter that is there, they also contain nitrogen. Be it the pollutants, the air, they also contain nitrogen. So the biotic factors as well as the abiotic factors also contain nitrogen, apart from having oxygen, carbon dioxide and hydrogen. Carbon, oxygen and hydrogen. We can say, where is exactly nitrogen present in the plants? Why is it needed? So nitrogen is needed for the plant because nitrogen is an important constituent of the amino acids. So chains of amino acids or amino acids, if it has to be formed, then nitrogen is required. And therefore, if amino acids are formed properly, they will form chains to form proteins. So therefore, they are important components of proteins. They are important components of the hormones, chlorophylls and also many vitamins. So they are very, very essential for the plant, for the overall growth and development of the plant and for the various metabolic activities to occur in the plant. So here, whatever nitrogen is there in the soil, the plants will have to compete with the microbes that are there in the soil for the nitrogen. So plants compete with microbes for the limited nitrogen that is available in the soil. So that is the time when we can add nitrogen from an external source in the form of fertilizer. So thus nitrogen is a limiting nutrient for both the natural and agricultural ecosystem. Two nitrogen atoms are joined by a triple bond. So they are joined by a very strong triple bond, hence difficult to break. That is why the plants have to make use of the rhizobium bacteria to break this nitrogen into nitrate. Therefore, that can be utilized by the plants. Why nitrogen cannot be directly utilized by the plant? It is because nitrogen is made up of a strong triple bond which is very difficult for the plants to break them. So that is when they take the help of the rhizobium bacteria to do so. So next, talking about the nitrogen cycle. So we understood the metabolism of nitrogen. We understood that now nitrogen cannot be directly utilized by the plants. Therefore, they have to be broken down into simpler forms. So how exactly it is done? How exactly it occurs in a nitrogen cycle? We shall see. So the process of conversion of nitrogen to ammonia is termed as nitrogen fixation. So first, the nitrogen that is there, the bonds between the nitrogen will be broken and the molecule of nitrogen combines with water or hydrogen that is present in the atmosphere to form ammonia. So if you can see here, atmospheric nitrogen. So in atmosphere also nitrogen is there, in soil also nitrogen is there. So in atmosphere how nitrogen is present, that is while studying about evolution, we all have learned that nitrogen is one of the important components that or a gaseous form that is present in the atmosphere, right? And also nitrogen is given to the atmosphere by various industrial smoke and all that. So that is how nitrogen gets accumulated in the atmosphere. Apart from that, in soil how nitrogen is present. So nitrogen occurs in the soil because of the plant. So plants, what they'll do? Plants, after a certain period of time, they will die. That nitrogen will get added to the soil in the form of fertilizer. And not just that, even animals. Animals will feed on these plants having nitrogen. So when these animals die, in their body also nitrogen will be there, therefore adding on to the nitrogen in the soil. So plants can make use of nitrogen that is present in the atmosphere as well as in the soil. So here, this has to be first converted into ammonia. How exactly it will take place? So first we'll talk about the atmospheric nitrogen. So atmospheric nitrogen, we told you nitrogen is made up of a triple bond. So this has to be broken. So the molecule of nitrogen combines with hydrogen that is present in the atmosphere to form ammonia. It is a biological nitrogen fixation process. And apart from that, also industrial nitrogen fixation also occurs wherein it gets converted into ammonia. And not just that, the sparks that are released by the lightning, they also help in the direct conversion of nitrogen to nitrate. So NO3 is nitrate and NO2 is nitrite. So atmospheric nitrogen gets converted into ammonia wherein nitrogen combines with a broken down nitrogen, they combine with hydrogen to form ammonia, that is NH3. So this ammonia then gets converted into nitrite, and then it gets converted into nitrate, which is then being utilized by the plants. Apart from that, the nitrogen can get directly converted into nitrate. How is it? It is by electrical nitrogen fixation. So electrical nitrogen fixation is nothing but by lightning. So lightning, they discharge a lot of electric currents, right? So through that also the nitrogen that is there in the atmosphere gets converted into the nitrate. And here again, these also adds on to the nitrogen in the soil. How? In the form of rain. So when rain comes and falls on the ground, they will contain this particular ammonia. That ammonia can get converted into nitrite and then to nitrate and can be utilized by the plants. So now we have the nitrate. So this nitrate will be uptaken by the plants that are living there. So these plants, they can directly die and decay, and they can form a decaying biomass containing nitrogen. And not just that, these animals also, they would have fed on these plants. Therefore, these animals will also contain nitrogen. When they die and decay, they will add on to the soil. So this is how the cycle will continue. Now the cycle continues as such. It can continue like this. So, but first, if nitrogen has to come to the soil, it is through the atmospheric, the nitrogen comes. So here we'll first understand about a process called as ammonification. So ammonification is nothing but the decomposition of nitrogen, that is organic nitrogen, which is got by the dead plants and animals into ammonia. So here I told you, first from atmospheric nitrogen combines with hydrogen to form ammonia. That ammonia, they will reach the soil. How? Through rain droplets in the soil by the nitrogen fixing bacteria which are present in the root nodules of the leguminous plants. They get converted into nitrite and then to nitrate, and this nitrate will be taken by the plants, and the plants will, they die and decompose. They add on to the decaying biomass, and also the animals that feed on the plant, when they die and decompose, they add on to the biomass, wherein in the biomass there is now nitrogen. So the nitrogen present in the biomass again gets converted into, combines with hydrogen to form ammonia, and the process is called as ammonification. And the cycle continues like this. So decomposition of organic nitrogen of animals into ammonia is called as ammonification. And some of the ammonia, again, ammonia is a volatile compound. That is, it is capable of escaping into the atmosphere in a gaseous form. So it volatilizes and it re-enters the atmosphere. But most of them is converted to nitrate by the soil. That is the rhizobium bacteria present in the soil. So what did we learn? Ammonia, it combines with oxygen to form. So if it has to form nitrate, it has to combine with oxygen. Ammonia combines with oxygen to form nitrite. It combines with oxygen to form nitrite. And this nitrite combines with hydrogen to form hydrogen, therefore giving out the hydrogen and water. Then the nitrite that is there, it combines with oxygen to form nitrate. So this is nitrate. So this is how, this nitrate is the one that is utilized by the plant. So this is how nitrogen gets converted. Nitrite combines with oxygen to form nitrate, therefore adding on to the soil, and that nitrate is utilized by the plant. So this is how the ammonification process will occur. So denitrification is nothing but the loss of nitrogen will occur. So that is why when the loss of nitrogen occurs, the nitrite gets converted into the nitrate. So next, talking about the nitrification. So we understood the different steps, right? So the first step was ammonification. So ammonification is nothing but the dead and decaying animals and plants, they will add nitrogen to the soil. That nitrogen again combines with hydrogen to form ammonia. That ammonia again combines with oxygen to form nitrate, and that nitrate again combines with oxygen to form nitrite, and that nitrite is again utilized by the plant. And during this process, some part of the ammonia gets lost into the atmosphere, and some will, most of them will be utilized by the plants as such. Next step is nitrification. In nitrification, what happens? Ammonia is first oxidized to nitrite by the bacteria Nitrosomonas, or it is also called as Nitrococcus. So the conversion of ammonia to nitrite is called as nitrification. So how does the conversion occur? Of course, all that process we had studied, how ammonia combines with oxygen to form nitrite, and then nitrite combines with oxygen to form nitrate. So if so much process has to occur, plants alone cannot do that. So they take the help of the bacteria, that is Nitrosomonas bacteria or Nitrococcus bacteria, and the nitrite is further oxidized to nitrate with the help of the bacterium Nitrobacter. So don't get confused. The conversion, so I'll make you understand here. So ammonia, by the process of ammonification, ammonia is present. This ammonia combines with oxygen to form nitrite, So this conversion of ammonia or the combining of ammonia with oxygen to form nitrite is helped by a bacteria or is done by the bacteria called as Nitrosomonas or Nitrococcus. And this nitrite should get converted to nitrate with oxygen, and this process is done by the bacteria Nitrobacter. So Nitrosomonas or Nitrococcus helps in the conversion of ammonia to nitrite, and the Nitrobacter helps in the conversion of the nitrite to nitrate. So this is the function. So all these steps, that is the conversion of ammonia to nitrite and that nitrite to nitrate, is called as nitrification, and these nitrification bacteria or the bacteria that helps in the conversion of ammonia to nitrite at the end are called as the chemoautotrophs. So here the chemo means chemical. They are making use of chemical here, right, for as their food. Autotrophs, they are capable of making their own food. So to make their own food, they are using light, like how we have photoautotrophs, means by using the sunlight, they convert it into food energy. Here, they're using chemicals to make it into food energy. It is chemoautotrophs. So, chemoautotrophs means here, they're making use of ammonia to convert it into nitrite and then that nitrite to nitrate. So, that is how it is done. So, the nitrate at the end that is formed is the one that is actually absorbed by the plants and it is translocated or it is transported to the leaves. And in the leaves, it is reduced to form ammonia and that finally forms the amine group of amino acids. So that is how nitrogen helps in the formation of the amino acids. So what happens here? The nitrates that is there will be absorbed by the plants and it will be transported to the leaves. And in the leaves, again, the nitrates will be converted into ammonia and these ammonia will get converted to amine, and these amine are nothing but they are the groups of amino acids, and these amino acids finally form protein. So that is why nitrogen is very, very important in the formation of amino acids as well as proteins in the plants. So this is about nitrification process. So one more we had come across, that is denitrification. So the nitrate that is present in the soil is again reduced to nitrogen by the process of denitrification. So if you can see here, nitrate that was present in the soil. So in the soil, what was there? Nitrate. This nitrate has to get converted into nitrogen. So how it gets converted into nitrogen? By a process called as denitrification, and this denitrification is usually carried out by the bacteria Pseudomonas and Theobacillus. So therefore, the whole nitrogen cycle process not just depends on one or two bacteria. In this particular process, different bacteria such as the Nitrobacter or the Nitrococcus, Nitrosomonas bacteria, then we have the Pseudomonas bacteria, Theobacillus, all these are involved if the nitrogen cycle has to get completed. And where are these present? They are present in the soil. Therefore, soil is not just a constituent of different mineral ions or mineral elements, but also a home for several beneficial organisms that are of great help to the plant for its proper growth and development. So we understood about denitrification as well. So this was about this particular session wherein we discussed about soil, that is how soil attains its mineral elements, that is by the process of weathering and breakage of rocks. And also we understood about nitrogen cycle, how nitrogen cycle occurs in the nature, and why nitrogen cycle is important, because plants cannot directly use nitrogen because nitrogen is made up of two atoms of which are bonded together by 3 strong bonds, covalent bonds. So therefore, it is difficult for the plants to utilize them directly. And that is why they are converted into ammonia, and that ammonia into nitrite, and that nitrite into nitrate, and they are utilized by the plants. And the various microbes that I had mentioned are the ones that help in this particular process of the nitrogen cycle. And we also understood about ammonification, nitrification and denitrification. So I hope you understood this session well. So in the coming session, we shall in detail discuss about the biological nitrogen fixation, because you have an idea about the nitrogen cycle now. Understanding that will also be quite easy. So we shall meet again in the coming session. Thank you.